Assalamu alaikum. My name is Hussein and my dad's name is Muhammad Ainul Huda. I will talk about Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam's birth. Abdullah, the son of Abdul Muttalib and the father of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, was then 24 years of age. To Amina bint Wahab. Briefly was the wedded life of Abdullah and Amina. Shortly after the marriage, her husband set out on a mercantile expedition to Syria, leaving the young pregnant wife who was destined to see him no more. It was their first and last parting. From the return journey, Abdullah sickened and died before his wife was delivered. He was buried in Medina among the Banu Najjar. For the support of his widow, Abdullah left behind him no richer legacy than 4 camels, a flock of goats, and a slave girl. Muhammad was therefore destined to be posthumous. Under the rocks of the Abu Ubais, which rise eastward of Mecca over the narrow valley, stood the house of Amina, the birthplace of her only son. At the morning of Monday, April 22, 571, after the death of Jesus, a grandson was born to Abdul Muttalib, who named him Muhammad, the extolled one. He gave a banquet in honor of his grandson, to which he invited a number of Quraysh tribesmen and priests. When they inquired from him why he had chosen to name him Muhammad, thus changing the tradition of using the ancestors' names, Abdul Muttalib answered, "I did so with the wish that my grandson would be praised by God in heaven and on the earth by men." To the Arab nation in heroes and hero worship, it was as a birth from darkness into light. Arabia first became alive by means of it. A poor shepherd people roaming unnoticed in its deserts since the creation of the world. A hero prophet was sent down to them with a word they could believe. John William Draper also writes in History of the Intellectual Development of Europe, 1875, that 4 years after the death of Justinian, 571 after death of Jesus, was born at Mecca. In Arabia, the man who of all men has exercised the greatest influence upon the human race. According to the life of Muhammad, Muhammad appeared on the scene at one of the darkest periods in all history, when all the civilizations from Merovingian Gaul to India were falling to ruin or were in a state of troubled gestation. Mecca, also known as al-Qura, mother of towns about 40 miles from the Red Sea, lay in an arid valley embosomed with turred rocks. The streets were now narrow and piled high with dirt and garbage. The air was heavy in Mecca, and the children they grew up pale, weak, and sickly. All about and around Mecca was desert, whose air was limpid. For this reason, it was a custom among the Arabic gentry and nobility that the mother did not nurse their children. They would give their suckling infants into the charge of Bedouin women shortly after birth to suckle and nourish them. Abdul Muttalib assigned his grandson into the nursing care of Halima and Sadiya, the daughter of Abu Zayd, belonging to the clan of Sa'd, near Mount Af, situated to the east of Mecca. The little Muhammad's 5 years of life spent in the tents of this wandering tribe. Having nurtured for a period of 5 years, the wet nurse Halima gave him back to his mother, Amina, who also died after 1 year. Henceforward, Abdul Muttalib was both mother and father to the orphan child. But this was not to be long for either. The old man died when Muhammad was 8. The dying Abdul Muttalib had already consigned the guardianship of Muhammad to his son Abu Talib. who discharged the trust kindly and faithfully. His fondness for his charge equaled that of Abdul Muttalib. He made him sleep by his bed, eat by his side, and go with him wherever he walked. Andrea writes in Muhammad, the Man and His Fates. It is said of Abu Talib that he loved Muhammad greatly. He would not sleep unless the lad were at his side. He never cared to go out without him. He noticed also that a blessing accompanied the future prophet. When Muhammad was not present, Abu Talib's family could not eat. This tender treatment was continued until his nephew emerged from childhood. In the 12th year of age, Muhammad traveled with his uncle in a trade caravan to Syria. It was during this journey that Muhammad is said to have met a Christian anchor called Bahira. Beholding the boy, so goes the story, he could discern his face marks of future greatness, so he advised Abu Talib to take good care of him, for he would someday be the recipient of divine call. Muhammad took part in the battle at the age of 20 between the Quraysh and the Ais, which goes under the name of Harb al-Fijal, a war of transgression, so called because it was fought in the sacred months when warfare was forbidden, but his part in it was not that of actual fighting, but only of handing over arrows to his uncles. After that, he participated in the alliance known as Hilf al-Fazl, formed to vindicate the rights of the weak and the oppressed against tyranny. Each member of the alliance was bound in honor to defend the helpless against all manner of oppression. The credit of taking the lead in the formation of this humanitarian organization was due to Muhammad and his Banu Hashim. His early inclinations to render help to the distressed go to show that human sympathy was implanted in his very nature. At this early age, Muhammad's integrity had already won household fame in the town of Mecca. He was commonly known as Al-Amin, the trustworthy. The epithet does not imply honesty alone. It is all comprehensive, denoting righteousness in every form. Whosoever happened to have any dealings with him at the period never ceased to praise him all his life. It was about this time that the necessity arose for the reconstruction of the Kaaba, the requisite material being all provided. The Quraysh jointly undertook the work. In the course of construction, a serious dispute arose as to who should have the proud privilege of laying the black stone. This might have resulted in outbreak of intertribal feuds, when there rose a hoary-headed man with his elderly advised to refer the matter to arbitrator. Whoever he suggested should be first to appear at the Kaaba the following day should be accepted as a judge to decide at the point at issue. The proposal was unanimously agreed to. All were eagerly awaiting the next morning, when lo, to the satisfaction of all, it was a personage no other than Muhammad. "Here is Al-Amin! Here is Al-Amin!" all shouted in one voice. The general confidence in him was fully justified. Taking a sheet of cloth, he placed the black stone therein with his own hands. Then he invited principal men from every clan to hold the sheep by the four ends, and thus equally shared in the honor of lifting the stone to its position. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.